Hey, folks, this is Javen, and get ready for another exciting episode of Do It Now. Something today is going to change and revolutionize your life. Get ready, because it's time to do it now. What's up, everybody? We're so glad you're joining us for our Do It Now podcast. I have with me my assistant pastor. This is Pastor Larry Cano. What's up?
Hey, what's going on? Glad to be here.
That's so fake.
I'm excited. I made it to the Do It Now podcast.
Do It Now.
I made it.
Calm down. I've actually known Larry
for a long time.
How old were you when you were in my choir? This is way back in the day. I'm telling all.
Without telling, age or
whatnot.
You're
15. Was it 15?
About 15, 16 years old.
Yeah, I was going to say that's what I thought.
And now I'm about up there.
Now, yeah. If you want to tell your age, that's on you. I was just saying that when I met you. We are glad you're joining us today. These podcasts are always impromptu. We always try to share our hearts. It's really about just a real conversation about what it means to live in your now. Why wait when your best is now? And that's one of the things that, I'm always teaching you and talking to you about that. So expound on that a little bit, because I'm putting you on the spot. But, I'm always talking to you about the importance of now.
To be honest with you, I thought now meant something else. And
a lot of people do.
To be honest with you, I've always been a natural born procrastinator.
I don't think you should say be honest with you, because when you say be honest with you, people say when you say be honest with you, that means the other times you're not being honest.
That's true.
So you got to be careful.
Listen,
like when people say, can I tell you the truth?
I try to be as honest as possible all the time. But what I'm trying to say.
Can I be honest? It was like, what were you doing before? No, you were going to say, you talked about procrastination.
So, in coming to the understanding, when I first came to the church, I'm like, now church, what does now mean? Like, do it now? Is this a time frame? Is it everything, is it now? And one of the things they're teaching me is to take advantage of every single moment. Yeah. It's not a work related thing, but it's to enjoy it. Yeah. To enjoy the process, to enjoy the challenges, enjoy whatever the obstacles are, because for the most part, a majority of my life, when everything would come to me, the reason I'll procrastinate about stuff is not because I didn't want to see things get done. It's because I didn't want to go through the stuff. I didn't want to go through the hurdles. I didn't want to feel the pull in the stretch.
Yeah, because you thought it was going to be difficult.
It was going to be difficult. So the most part, the stretching part of what it means to live in your now has been the most challenging, but at the same time, the most rewarding. Yeah.
And I think it's so important that when we talk about living in your now and do it now, what we're really talking about is what you just said earlier, and that is enjoying the process. This is so key. You cannot go through the entire year trying to get to next year. You can't go through the entire week. Some of y'all went through the whole week just trying to get to Friday, when in fact, the week was really about Monday,
everything
Tuesday.
Was just a blur.
Yeah.
It was just a blur. And
well, your life can end up being like that.
Exactly. 10 years from now, you're like, I don't even remember what I did.
And if you did, you know what? I don't care. The best of us do this. And that is, you have these moments and you have to look back and you see the pictures and the videos, but you don't remember the experience.
Exactly. And that's something that I've been learning. I've been learning, take the good, take the bad, take the challenge, enjoy all of it. Yeah. And it creates these memories, these memorable moments, so that, when other things start to come, in your now, you're able to sit outside of yourself and like, oh, okay, so I know how to get through this. I know what I'm supposed to do, when I'm supposed to, how to do it. And then I can look back and say, I was actually successful. Yeah. Instead of regretting.
And it teaches you how to really, really manage time management. It teaches you where to put the space in your head. I talk about this in my book, but it teaches you how to quiet noises down. I talk about the noise of life. And how the way you're able to calm that down is by having this constant awareness of your surroundings, a constant awareness of your interactions and where God has placed you. And then once you begin to figure that out, you're able to embrace and seize the moment. And what I'm talking about, and some of you will be able to agree with this, is when you are frustrated about a bill that is coming, or a surgery or something that's coming down the pipe, And because you are concerned about that, or concerned about an argument or something you had before, the wedding that you're at, the church service that you're at, the important meeting that you have, you're not able to enjoy it because the mind is in back then, or your mind is in what's to come.
I'll say this. One of the things that I've learned about the now, and also reading your book, is taught me not to give too much energy to things that are seemingly petty. You know, it's allowed me to focus or change my focal point and being more intentional about, you know, paying more attention to the things that are way more important.
Yeah.
And to be able to enjoy each moment. So I'm learning to put those things aside and just really focus on life.
Yeah.
Because one thing, you know, you have to live this life. God
Yeah.
has blessed us to be able to have a life and then enjoy it. And I know too many people that don't live intentional.
Yeah.
They don't live in their now. And living in your now is being intentional about what you want to see, where you want to be, who you want to be around, what kind of money you want to make. And sometimes people just let life live them.
Yeah, I call it living on purpose.
On purpose,
you know, we used to always teach and talk about living with purpose. You know, make sure you fulfill your purpose and, you know, walk in purpose and all that. It's like, yeah, you know, that's good. But, you know, I think what is more intentional is, okay, let's go here for a second. All right, so it's living on purpose, you know, and here again, shameless plug, but you should get the book. I talk about it in there. But this is what Jesus did, right?
Exactly.
It's the bottom line is intentional. It's what it means to be totally into, like everything he did, every step, like talking to this lady by the well, you know, I must need go through Samaria, and then he gets there, and it's on purpose. You know, there's an intent there of event, and I would argue to say Jesus wasn't even trying to, you know, I haven't talked to Jesus about this, by the way.
We will one day.
but he called me.
Oh, man.
He called me last night, and I was asking him about the woman at the well. No, I would argue to say Jesus' intent for that was to make her a disciple.
Oh, that's good.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
sure.
because she becomes historically one of the biggest evangelical disciples in that era. She ended up that some say she won more people to Jesus than some of the 12.
Go figure.
So I would argue to say, you know, that whole setup was a setup for something even greater. You know, because that's how God works. That's how Jesus operated. Everything was intentional. You know, he had about 2.5 years to evangelize the world in that region. And he's intentional about that because he knows he's not going to be around in about 2.5 years, which is a very short. You know, if the doctor told you had 2 years, that's nothing, man. How depressing is that, right? But the reality is, some of us only have 2 years. You know, some of us may not have 2 years. You know, and I don't speak that over nobody, including ourselves. But that's just the reality of life. You know, the scripture says it's appointed to man once to be born and then to die, and then after death the judgment. It is what it is. You can't get out of this life but through death, and Jesus knew that, and in knowing that, he got intentional about every step, every meeting, and you just wonder sometimes what would happen if we all got intentional about our every move, our every step, our every now moment. Let me ask you a question. Why do you think people are not intentional? Like, why do folks just kind of allow everybody else to determine, you know, their day, and every circumstance determine their day? Okay,
I feel like I'm gonna go deep here for a second. I feel like
what if it's not that deep though?
I think people are just scared of their now.
Yeah.
I think some people are just scared of
reality.
Being successful.
Yeah, okay.
You know, because there were times where I've pulled back because I saw things happening and I didn't go in.
Yeah.
You know, I started thinking too much. I started giving the energy to too many what ifs. What if I become famous? What if I become popular? But then it requires this, and this. You know, but in the time I was being intentional, I was trying to connect with people, network, do all these different things. And when I started seeing myself grow, for some reason I pulled back.
So the fear of success.
The fear of success.
Yeah.
I think some people, you know, maybe, or it could be in the perspective that it takes too much work sometimes in people's head. But in reality, when you're flowing,
it's really not that hard.
It's really not that hard.
Yeah.
Once you get intentional, it's like you're saying, if we're living on purpose, we're technically living with purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is our purpose, is to be intentional with this life and the gift of it that we've been given.
Your purpose is that which you're connected to and that which you're doing, and then that which you're intentional about. And then I would take it a step further and tell you that at the end of the day, we are more familiar with problems. We're more familiar with lack. We're more familiar with disappointments and discouragement. And,
and the scary thing about that, it's become normal.
Mm-hmm.
It's very normal.
So what we're saying is anytime something opposite of that starts happening for you,
it's super uncomfortable.
Oh my, it's scary.
And it's like a whole different, and one of the, the message I got to preach last night, on Wednesday night, was, actually walking by faith, and the difference between having a belief and the confidence in a belief and actually taking steps towards the belief. And I think a lot of times
which is what faith is.
Which is what faith is.
Yeah, faith is not action. Faith is action. It's not action. A blind hope. What he's talking about is there's this misconception that faith is just leaping out on nothing and just hoping and wishing. And faith is really more evidence. It's actually more scientific. It's actually more informative.
Absolutely.
And it's certainly way more active.
Absolutely. Even if you read in the beginning of Genesis how everything was created. Yeah. Just in the perspective of how God used faith himself to create everything from nothing.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
And the scripture says we were made in his image and his likeness. So that means if we are going to see that level of creativity, if we're going to see that level of success and productivity, then we have to act like he did, and that is put our feet to the platforms or to the pavement and start walking, start running.
It's not faith unless you put feet to it.
Exactly. It's true. So what I want to say right here is, when we start talking about the now message right now in our current world, in our current situation, in our current circumstance, what would you say to people that's out there that's watching and listening to our podcast right now? What should that person be doing? I mean, we know where we are politically right now in our nation. We know where we are with, everything from social media platforms to the gospel and just all of there's more gray than there is black and white, I would say. It's almost very challenging for our kids. That's what's unfortunate. Yeah. But where do you think people's mindset should be right now? Do you have anything?
I honestly think people just need to take a step outside of themselves and refocus about what it is that they really want to see their life become. I think that the normality of what's going on is we see a glimpse, or we see this ideology of what people are trying to grow themselves in whether it's money, whether it's IG, whether it's popularity. And I just think people are getting lost in the sauce of, trying to become what other people look like. But in reality, if you break it all down, it is just people trying to live by the need of wanting to be important, wanting to feel love, wanting to just thrive altogether. But I one of the things I've learned is that no one's necessary need is wrong, but a lot of times it's the means by which they try to meet the need that can become the challenge that affects them and how they intercept whatever it is that is trying to distract them, that is trying to hurt them. And then we've caused it to become a normality and have just gone with it. Yeah. And instead of us being comfortable, being uncomfortable, accepting challenges to become greater and to become more like the image of God, we just kind of compromise to what the society right now is trying to call normal.
I think the biggest challenge that we have, so there's this huge debate going on. They just had the Grammys, the Grammy Awards. I didn't watch it, by the way. I did not. I saw highlights from TikTok.
I turned it off. I saw enough.
I didn't watch it at all. I was out of town actually, and the hotel I was at didn't have CBS, so I couldn't watch it anyway.
You were at a hotel didn't have CBS?
They didn't have CBS. No, they didn't. I'm not going to put the hotel on blast.
Did they have a view though?
They had a view. Always, I got to always have a room with a view. Yeah. But so I didn't watch it, but there has been like all this back and forth, especially in the faith-based community, about why Christian artists should even be there? Why should gospel artists even be participating? And why would they compromise or just sit there and watch? I guess there was a performance by some of the other artists that were defaming Christianity or something like that.
Yeah, it was. I'll be honest, it was tough to watch. But going to your point, sometimes
don't go too far. Let's stay there for a second.
Gotcha.
But so what happened? I mean, you don't have to go into detail.
Yeah.
But was that accurate?
Yeah, it was accurate. It was rough to watch because it seemed like there was more agendas being pushed. There was a lot of what seemed to be satanic things. They were pretty much depicting what hell was like and using a lustful perspective in it. And so it was being portrayed as, hell is kind of great.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. From that perspective.
All right.
And, yeah.
So that's what's going on. All right. So now make your point. You remember what you're going to say?
I kind of forgot, but it was very similar when you mentioned why are Christians in these venues sometimes, but it brings me back to a message you taught about, Jesus and having that dinner and being a witness in an area, being a light and having intentions to minister, to be that salt and that light. And it took just one dinner to cause change to everyone.
Oh, you talking about with Zacchaeus.
Zacchaeus.
Yeah.
And that was a very powerful teaching about, somebody like Jesus being in the presence of what some would say, like, you ain't got no business being here.
Yeah.
But his intentions was to do what?
He did go in there. People always say, well, Jesus brought people to him. Actually, it's the opposite. He actually went to them. He went into their settings. He went into their atmosphere. But then I also could see people's argument too about why, Christian people and Christian artists desire to be recognized in these arenas. Why should they desire for a Grammy in the first place, and to think that that's what it means to make it and that's what it means to achieve, that our music should be for us and whatnot, which that is a very strong and important view of what's going on. And I don't know that I disagree with that at all, but I don't know that I disagree with those that, feel the need to go into these arenas and infiltrate these arenas to a certain degree and to a certain point, because and this is not that spiritual, it's just that our kids, and by our kids I mean the youth of the next generation. Now, it may not be our specific kids or our youth group kids, which it is a lot of times, they may not be telling y'all, but our kids do engage in these environments and these platforms as far as the musicians and the artists,
and because it's attractive. It's very attractive. I mean, I can remember growing up as a youth. I love gospel music, but I'm a huge fan of R&B. I absolutely love R&B music. Listen, but
a white preacher talk about R&B music.
I could go down the list of names, but
Lord.
I got some. I'm a fan of a lot of people, but it wasn't more so the lyrics of the music. I think it was more
presentation.
So the presentation, the flow of the music, the runs in the music. And it attracted me. It grasped me. But then,
you're talking about your R&B?
Yeah, R&B.
Yeah, okay. I thought you were talking about the Grammys.
But at the same time, would you expect a 14-year-old white boy to be loving, specific hardcore gospel artists? Like Fred Hammond.
Actually, yes.
It's some people were like, you're 14 and that's what you listen to. I was like, because it was introduced.
I ran into a lot of white people that like black gospel.
And it's amazing. And
those are the coolest white people I know, by the way.
Yes.
The rest of y'all, I don't know.
But I got a great variety.
Not like a white man that got rhythm, okay? No. Stop. This is going way off, right?
Yeah.
No. I think so to the Christian body at large, there is both sides. I do think that there is an argument to be made of why would you want to compromise and be a part of that? Why would you look to that as anything other than what it is? Talking about the Grammys. And then there is the argument of, no, we should be there. Light needs to go where there is darkness. We should be making sure that our kids and the next generation can look up on the stage and say, hey, yo, that's Maverick City, or that's this person, or that's that person, Kirk or CeCe or whoever is up there. And I don't know who was at the Grammys. I'm just calling out names.
But let me ask you this question. Unless the specific groups, let's just say, to put this into perspective, are at these venues, and just from the look of it, how do you differ? How do you think as an artist that they can differentiate that they're just sitting or they're trying to make a difference if our younger generation sees that? Because, sometimes even just seeing something that doesn't look right, it can cause confusion.
Let me say this in full transparency. I've been to many Grammys award shows. I've been to a lot of awards. I've been Golden Globe. I've been to a lot. I lived in L.A. That's no secret. I lived in L.A. for a good 20 years. So, I've been to a lot of these events. Yeah. I don't think going to any event and whatnot is the issue. I think what happens at the event, it becomes the more bigger more of the problem and the situation at hand. So is the Grammys wrong by themselves? I don't think so. Is it an evil thing? No, I think that. But if the Grammys start doing things that compromise,
it's a worldly event.
Everything's a worldly event.
Well, true.
In that regard.
So expecting something different. I mean,
here's the deal. I think where we where we become challenged at, because somebody made the argument, you wouldn't see this, you wouldn't see them going after Allah or Muslim religions like that, because them people. People coming at your house, burning up your front yard. In America, I think this becomes a challenge because we live in a democracy in such a way that the freedom of speech and the opportunity to freedom of worship and the freedom of expression is there.
It's there, yeah.
It is there. You can't. If you shut down one, they're gonna come after you. You know what I mean? If you start saying they can't express themselves this way, then they start telling us we can't express, and then you got World War III all over again. So we live in a country that does offer freedom of expression. Mm-hmm. So I'm finna say something that's not that popular. I'm independent, so I can't get in trouble because there's no.
True.
Y'all can just tune me out, I guess. But
don't do that.
I think that the deal is, it is not that these people are expressing themselves with the satanic stuff. Is that we haven't done a good job expressing ourselves.
Oh wow!
You know what I mean? Like we have not put the numbers up to make it believable. I think that when you start talking about Christian music, gospel music, faith-based entertainment and whatnot, it's very, very. We have a lot of issues. Yeah. I mean, the biggest one is that it is not multicultural. It is not across the board. It is not all these expressions of arts. It's not all these expressions of culture. Now, let me say something here and shut this thing down. Just because you got a black person at your event does not make it multicultural. If that black person style and whatnot is similar to your style, you just got a person that has black skin singing white music. Wow. If you start rapping right now, I'm not going to sit here and say this multicultural. I just got a white man that's
with some soul.
That's got some soul singing the culture of black music, or whatever the case may be. Now, that's real elementary, but y'all know what I'm talking about. So what makes something multicultural, multiracial is that those races and those cultures are represented in that presentation.
Yeah.
So you can't put no black people on your show when they sing music. There's a lot of black artists that sing white music.
Yeah.
In Christian music.
Absolutely.
I can call the names. Don't make me go there.
Yeah.
All right. So
it's becoming more popular even now.
Yeah.
It's transitioning.
So that's not a multicultural, multi-ethnic presentation. Say what you want about shows like the Grammys, but they get that right.
Yeah,
they get that right. You get the hip hop, you get the country, you get the rock, you get the pop, you get all of those different entities.
Actually, I think this year was the 50th anniversary of hip hop. They had a whole entire.
You would never see that at the KJLH Awards. You would never see that at the Dove Awards. They just started getting that together. You won't see it at the Stella Awards. Stella's is all black, so they ain't no better.
Wow.
I done got way.
Hold up. Hey.
So So I while we're over here talking about, hey, listen, what is Christian people doing at the Grammys? Why shouldn't they? In my opinion, why shouldn't they be there? And why shouldn't they have a bigger platform? In my day growing up, Andre Crouch used to be behind Michael Jackson with a big old choir singing Jesus music, right?
That's true.
That's an impact. That's what, Andre Crouch used to be, and Sandra Crouch, they used to be writing the jingles and stuff for all of your sitcoms, So a lot of your TV sitcoms were written by gospel artists with gospel messages.
That's true.
So maybe it's not so much of what they're doing. It is kind of, what are we doing?
What are we doing? Are we not shining in this day? Are we not being intentional? What is it that we're looking for in this? And I think that goes back to, again, the individual person sitting back and saying, like, what is my purpose in this?
Yeah.
What am I actually doing? Am I just trying to stay afloat? Am I just trying to be a part of something? Is there a compromise?
I think most people don't know. I think as I'm sitting here listening to you, I really feel like a lot of us just don't know. And I just encourage you. I feel like I'm going to a TV event. That's crazy. I just want to pray for you right now. Stretch your hands towards.
Oh man, I had some thoughts. I had some thoughts when you said that. I'm not going to say.
I was in college one time.
2:30 in the morning.
And this TV evangelist did that. We were all sitting in the door, and I fell out. They seriously thought I fell out in the spirit.
Oh my God.
Anyways. Oh God, we got way off.
I've turned the TV many a time. At that time, it was like, yo.
All right. I really encourage you to get it in your now season of making that a matter of prayer, of saying, what is my role? Sitting around on the sidelines playing defense about Christendom. And what I mean by that is, when you sit around and just nitpick, to be honest with you, that's an easier play, easier position to play.
Just sitting around complaining about everything.
Correct.
Instead of being intentional and making things. What do they say? There's the three types of people.
Yeah. Watch.
Wonder, watch, and make things happen.
Yeah.
So when you're intentional, you're living in your now, which I can personally say over the past 7 years has completely flipped my life, my wife, my children's life. Just the intentionality alone has brought different success in my life. Yeah. And even with, the business that I do, as a barber and any other thing I do, I've implemented what it means to live in your now. Yeah. And it has increased my business. It's, changed my children's life, and anything that comes at me, I'm doing my best to not let it sit, so that it doesn't eventually become dormant.
Yo, let me tell you, what you just said ignited me to tell y'all that it's important for you to understand that, whatever is in front of you is what you're supposed to be doing. Ooh, like, you have to be respectful of your now. Mm-hmm. I went to a pastor's luncheon the other day, and they asked me to speak and kind of pray and open it up and whatnot. And somebody said to me, and it was out of town somewhere, and they said, "You went to that?" Like,
why not?
Like, I'm only going to go to red carpet events or something. I was like, why wouldn't I go?
That's an awesome networking.
It's exactly. I think it's great. Like, it's just the fact that they asked and I was able to do it, and it was a good cause. Mm-hmm. Why not do it?
Why not?
I think that
you never know what God is going to do.
It doesn't even matter. That doesn't even matter. I mean, God could do whatever He wants to do. I could care less. That's
wherever you go.
My yes, right? We're in the year of yes.
We're in the year of yes.
So who cares what God's going to do? Yeah. It's about me just saying yes to things I can say yes to, and I that's the word I want to tell somebody right now. I want you to be encouraged in the sense that everything don't have to be big and shiny and stop running after the masses. And I know we live in a society where you want to get the likes on your posts and all that.
Absolutely.
And that gives the endorphins in your brain and make you feel special.
It's like an instant dopamine.
Yeah, it makes you feel better.
And we see this in the youth.
Again, grown people too.
Even grown,
a lot of grown.
It is true. That is true. There's you find yourself 2, 3, 4 hours just scrolling and don't even realize.
But don't get caught up in this sauce, y'all.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
I promise you, ain't nothing to do but to do it. That's my motto this year. Ain't nothing to do but to do it. Just do whatever is in front of you. When they read, and I'll tell you, and anybody that's significant can tell you this, and I promise you they can. When you go somewhere, as a speaker and as a singer and all that kind of stuff, you go places and then they read your bio.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll read the whole thing. And it's cringe-worthy sometimes to sit there
to hear it all back.
Hear people tell you all that stuff and who you are.
You're like, yeah.
But I can tell you, and anybody can confirm this, I promise you, when those people are reading all that stuff, you're like, who are they talking about?
Oh, wow.
You don't even, you're like, yeah. So when you have done significant things and when you are doing significant things, the point I'm making is you don't even feel it. You don't even recognize it. There is no endorphins at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you're having endorphins,
it's like
you're probably not doing nothing.
You're on the other side of people receiving, the work that you're doing, the hard work that you're doing. They're getting blessed for it. But at the same time, you're working. Maybe that's the whole point. They don't feel the hard work you're putting in. And I'll be honest, there's sometimes where, it could be even a great message. People come to you and say, hey, and I'm just like, I just did what God told me to do. I don't even remember half the stuff I said, but if you received it, amen, that's great.
So I'm just telling you, when you start talking about living in your now, it's not about trying to get the likes. It's not about trying to get the hype or the attention. It's really just about rolling your sleeves up, being intentional about whatever God is connecting you to your now. And if that's just taking care of your little 2-year-old baby, if that's just, paving, putting a new a wall in the back half of your house, if that's just, starting out and making sure your kids' clothes are ironed and your house is clean or whatever it is that God has in front, if that's just you helping out with your youth ministry, being an usher, being a greeter, at your local church and, helping people park, if that's just means being a coach of a life group and, just sharing your experience, that to me is extraordinary work. That is phenomenal work.
I'll say something that you said. You said that, in your now, this might not be forever, but it is your now.
It is your now.
So take advantage of it.
And it's the most important thing. And I promise you, it is a huge part of the totality that is your life. It really is. I don't care how dope a door is. If there are no small hinges that holds that door up, that door is ineffective.
That's good.
If there is no little knob that allows you to grab it, to pull it open or to close it, it is ineffective. So when I tell you, however your now may look right now and how it may seem insignificant or it may seem like nothing, the little phone call, the little text, the little hug, the little listening to this podcast or whatever to get your juices back flowing, this stuff matters. This is what you need. Yeah. I'm telling you right now, I don't need to be doing nothing else. So doing a podcast was certainly not something I desired to do, and I was putting it off. And a man came to me, I know we're going over time. We got to wrap it up. A man came to me and said, God told me to tell you that you need to start that podcast. And somebody else came and said, Pastor, you need. And so it was like several confirmations that I needed to do. And I was thinking, man, then I started doing it. And it's not like we're getting like hundreds of thousands of views. So it's like, why am I doing this? And it's almost like God said, listen, this is what I want you to do now for the people that need to hear it now, for the intent that it is for now. And what it will do and what it'll do later or for who or whatever, that's not your responsibility. So here we are. Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank y'all for joining us. Thank you, Pastor Larry. You did good. See y'all.